Hi everyone, Stepan here. I lost the last game quite awfully, so let's make up for that loss. I had a better position and I could have been a pawn up, but I didn't spend enough time in the critical position. Or I'd calculated something that was unnecessary. I could have been up a pawn. Okay, the quiet Slav, I'm just playing bishop f5. It's without c4, so there's even less harm in allowing queen b3. Okay, so queen b6 seems fine to me. The lines usually go cd, cd, queen b3, and then you have queen c7 targeting the bishop. But now I think queen b6 is the way to go. Yeah, I think this is fine. I'm trying to forget the last game. I just... Imagine, okay, I'm angry when I lose an online game against a random person. Imagine how Ding felt after he played rook f2. I told my teammates, if I ever start complaining when a tournament isn't going well, just say Ding. I mean, that sounds funny, but it's going to force me to forget about whatever bad thing I did during a tournament, and I'll be motivated. Okay, now e6 seems fairly straightforward. Now I have ideas of bishop b4 and knight e4. And funnily enough, it's a queen's gambit. I have a more active rook and a more active dark squared bishop and a more active light squared bishop. So I don't think the opening had gone well for my opponent. Okay, let's keep the bishop. Is there any reason to play bishop e4 here? This line works if the queens are still on the board. So if I go bishop e4, knight e4, d4, my opponent's gonna... Yeah, I'm playing bishop g4. I want to provoke some weaknesses. If my bishop was on e7, this wouldn't even work, because I'd have a retreat knight d7 in the end, targeting the h4 knight. But for now, it does work. The correct way to play the quiet Slav when black plays bishop f5 is to just play knight c3 and then knight h4 and take on g6 with the queens on the board. So the fact that my rook is now active on a8 only improves my position. I don't think it made much sense to do that. Well, if you're gonna go knight h4 and h3, you may as well play g4, because otherwise, why is the knight on h4? Yeah. Now the g-pawn is hanging. Okay, defends the g-pawn. Can I just take on c4? Giving away the center completely and winning a pawn? Tempting. Very tempting. I mean, maybe I can. So dc4, e4. How does my opponent get the pawn back? Because the a file is open, my rook isn't hanging. If I go b5 at some point, knight b5 doesn't really work. think I just grabbed this pawn. I mean, without the queens on the board, I don't think this whole idea works. This is the same variation that you get in the main line Quiet Slav, but the queen is on c2. And white castle's queenside, and it's scary. Now it's not scary, because there are no queens on the board. I'm gonna be honest and say that I don't believe this works for my opponent. So, my opponent probably wishes to play d5. So d5 takes, knight takes, bishop takes, bishop b4 check. Yeah, this surely doesn't work. And of course, if e5, I have knight d5. Because my rook isn't hanging. If knight b5, cb5, bishop b7, I can just gain a tempo on the bishop. Also on d5, I can just play e5. On bishop f1, there's knight takes g4. Yeah, this is just, I'm just a pawn up. It's not a clean pawn. I have two sets of doubled pawns, but it has to be fine for me. Two active rooks. I mean, compare my rooks and my opponent's rooks. And I'm up a pawn. And the worst part is, usually white gets compensation after e5, knight d5, cd5, in the form of the bishop being bad on c8. But there's no bishop on c8. So I don't get this. Also, knight e4 doesn't work because my bishop's still covering all the squares. Why would you do this? I don't have a bishop on c8. This just doesn't work. This is just awful for my opponent. I'm definitely up a clean potential passed pawn. I'm gonna go b5, b4, and yeah, how do you stop b5, b4? You don't. That's the answer. You don't. I have a nice square for the knight on b6. I'm gonna be targeting the b2 pawn. The only question is, do I play bishop e7 and castle? Or do I keep my king close to the center? I think I want to go bishop e7 and castle first. Maybe I don't. Wait, let's not rush. I mean, going b4 with my rooks disconnected seems scary, so I am gonna castle, bring my rook to the c file, and then go b4. It's not like my advantage is going anywhere. I don't want to castle, because my rook is active on the h file, but then again, what's it doing on the h file? It's not doing much. Okay. So my opponent's just playing aggressively. So, castles, f5, takes, rook takes. What if I castle queenside? That seems crazy, but why wouldn't I castle queenside? Because f6 is never a threat. It's gonna be harder to push my pawns. That much is true. I could also go f5. So f5, ef6, gf6, f5, g takes f5, g takes f5, e5, hangs my d pawn. I could take with the bishop, but then there's bishop c3. Interesting position. I'm starting to like castling queenside more and more. Yeah, I think I'm gonna castle queenside. Because my king is out of harm's way. It's gonna be harder to queen my pawns, but so what? I can delay that by a couple of moves, and if I'm not in trouble on the king side, then my position is fine. Okay, as expected. All right. So king c7, a6 takes, rook a8, rook a1 takes, king b7. So king b7 is just a waste of tempo, I guess. Okay, king c7 still. I have to do that. On a6 I can actually go rook a8, and on a7 king b6. Okay. I don't want to go b3. I don't want to go b3. But it actually gives me excellent chances in the end game if I do go b3. b3, rook fa1, rook a8. seems okay. I mean, I was thinking about b4, but there's rook a7 in the end after ab6. Sorry, b5, ab6, knight b6, rook a7. So yeah, I think b3 is fine. Because my opponent's gonna just trade rooks, I guess. On rook a1, rook a8. If you go a6, I just trade rooks. If you don't go a6, I go b5. And on ab6, knight b6 defends my rook the second time. Okay, this I haven't expected. A trade seems forced. Okay, rook a8. Let's activate. I'm gonna have to watch out for rook takes c4, dc4, and the bishop being active on the diagonal. For now, it doesn't work. I don't think it ever works. Okay. Let's go rook a6. Why wouldn't I? I'm gonna go knight b8, knight c6 after I've trade once. I'm guessing I have to go rook f8. I don't see an alternative. Or maybe I don't. Maybe I can go rook a8. Rook ha8, fe6, fe6, rook f7, rook a5, rook a5, rook a5, rook g7. I just win with c3. Yeah, this works. My opponent's gonna have to play rook a1. Yeah, rook f8 would have been very, very passive for no reason. I can also go king c6, or I could have gone on the previous turn, but it felt kind of risky to get to the light squares, and then rook b4, rook a5, rook takes c4 was hanging, because the d pawn is pinned, so I didn't want to step onto the light squares. If I can trade the b rook, then c3 is always threatening to queen in a couple of moves. I mustn't lose my c pawn. That's my best chance to win. Yeah, if we trade a pair of rooks and my opponent goes off taking the f pawn, sorry, the g pawn, then c3 and That's it. So I think rook a1 is forced. But then I have b6. Probably. And if on rook a5, my opponent goes rook b4, then I go rook a4, and on rook b5, I go king c6, actually winning an exchange. Okay, now I was thinking that I could go b6 here. Am I wrong? b6, ab6, knight b6. On king c6, there's still rook b4. Oh, maybe there's no rook b4. Maybe I go b5. And on ab6, the rook's hanging. So king c6, rook b4, b5. Ooh, that seems lovely. King c6, rook b4, b5. A draw? Are you crazy? King c6, rook b4, b5. ab6, I win the rook. Let's just double check. King c6, rook b4, b5. Yeah, this works. This works. I'm not hanging rook takes c4 because I have a pawn on b5. And b5 prevents my opponent's rook from coming back to a4. Yep. Now my opponent has a trapped rook. And AB fails to rook a1. And this is game over. I could even play rook f8 here. Because my opponent has a trapped rook. I don't have to rush things at all. On rook f8, rook a1, I just go rook f4 and start picking off pawns. Yeah, I'm just not gonna allow any counterplay unless I have to. Oh, this is such a nice position. Yeah, I'm just threatening to win the a5 pawn or the d4 pawn. I don't think you can save both. Okay, my opponent wants to play rook c4, bc4, rook c4. King b5. I guess rook c7. Yeah, that doesn't work. So do I take on a5 or do I go rook f4? Okay, so rook a5, rook c4, bc4, rook c4, king, let's say b6. Yeah, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Oh, there's rook takes b3. There is rook takes b3. I didn't see rook b3. Well, that I cannot prevent, because if I move my king back, then rook b5 is a move. So I'm guessing rook f4, rook b3, rook d4. I'm threatening knight e5. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. My opponent can take on b3. I'm not afraid of rook c4. Let's just double check. Rook c4, bc4, rook c4, king b5. No more checks. Or king b7. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, which pawn do I take? I want to take all of them. I'll start with rook a5, because that's my opponent's only really strong pawn. Okay. So knight e5, rook e1, king d6. I don't think I'm in any sort of trouble. Yeah, I'm just taking. Look at my connected pawns. Oh, they are lovely. Okay, if rook... Okay, take... Oh, sorry, king d6, rook g... five. I have knight d3. Well, okay, obviously I have to play king d6. So let's start with that. I have knight d3, knight f4, at least. Yeah, okay. I don't see any more counterplay. Rook g5 is the last move that seems to make any sense in terms of putting pressure on me. Okay, what does this do? I don't get this move. Because rook d8 doesn't do anything. I just go knight d7. Rook e8 doesn't do anything. Okay, there's nothing going on. I'm just going rook d2. Let's go for active play. On rook e8, I'm pretty sure I can just go e5 and start queening my pawns. I'm pretty sure. Okay, e5. Is there anything wrong with e5? I don't think so. So my opponent wants to go bishop g4 and take the knight after rook d8, I guess. All right. So rook a2, bishop g4, rook b2, rook d8, rook g2 check, king somewhere, rook takes g4, h takes g4, and I just queen my pawn. That seems pretty good. I don't think I have to overcomplicate things. I'm gonna sack the exchange and just queen my pawns. Rook d8 does not win a piece. Oh, my opponent takes. Okay, this is much nicer. All right, so there's no perpetual. So can I just queen my pawn? c3, rook e7, king d6. Yeah, actually, let's run away first. I want to get my king to a safe square first. Something like b4. Because once I play king c5, that's it. There are no more checks. Also, if my opponent ever moves the e1 rook away from the first rank, that forces a trade of rooks, and that's going to be the end. There's no counterplay either way after king d6. My king just isn't cut off. Had I played c3, my opponent could have played rook e6 with some chances, because my king would have been cut off on the first 2 ranks. All right. We can just win that pawn. It comes at a cost though. If rook g2, king h1, rook h2, king g1, rook h4, there is rook d1. Oh, but I have... If d4, then... Oh yeah, that's fine. d4. So rook g2. Oh, my opponent can play. Okay, rook g2, king h1, rook h2, king g1, rook h4, rook d1, d4. Oh, there's no rook d1, I just take the rook. Stupid. The rook's hanging on e5. Idiot. What am I calculating? Rook d1, I just take on e5. Stupid. Okay. All right, let's analyze. If you're like me and you think practicing against the engine is boring because it either crushes you or plays like an idiot, try playing against Nocti. Nocti is a human-like AI that's going to adapt to your strength, is going to play like a human, try to trick you like a human, and challenge you on your own level. Samuel, the creator and owner of Nocti, and I have come up with a promotion for this World Championship. You probably heard me talk about Nocti before, but I actually think it's a great way to study, and it makes not having a fanatic chess player next to you, well, less harmful to your chess training, and you can basically train as if you were training against a human. So we decided to do something. The first 10 people who sign up for Nocti with the code Hanging Pawns are gonna get personalized training routines, which I'm going to make. So I'm going to create a 1-month training schedule based on your abilities, based on your problems, based on what you and I think you should be studying. And yeah, if you would like me to do that, check out Nocti. Of course, you don't have to go for premium. It's a great product, even with the basic features. But the first 10 people who do decide to use the code Hanging Pawns are going to get training routines made by me. So if you do sign up, just email samuel@nocti.ai and he will know that you signed up and he will inform me. Okay, let's get back to the game. So in this position, knight c3 is the move, and after knight c3 you go e6 and then knight h4 is the main line. Queen b3 I'm not too familiar with, but okay. Takes, knight c3, e6, knight h4, h3, bishop h5, g4, takes. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, it seems equal. I mean, I would always take black because I have active rooks. Yeah. I mean, the c pawn is just hanging, isn't it? Yeah, I can just take. I'm just up a pawn. Wow, it's -2 already. Castle's queenside. I mean, it's very hard to ignore f5 coming. I wanted to get my king out of the way, so I don't think this is so bad. Okay, b4, king c7, b3. Yeah, it's all just fine. It's all just winning. Ah, maybe on king c6, rook b4, I can still go b5. Wait a minute. King c6, rook b4. I just bring my king back. Okay, takes. Here. King c6. Takes. I should have just taken on a5. Gave my opponent too much counterplay. But okay. Okay, there's just no chance here. I was calculating rook d8 and then I can just do this. Wait, the engine sacks a piece? Why? I was gonna go rook g2 check, and after the king moves I was gonna take the bishop. And this seemed winning enough. Of course it is, yeah. But my opponent took on d7, and yeah, at this point it was pretty much game over. Okay, a fun game. My opponent blundered out of the opening. I mean, I was just up a pawn the entire game. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Stay tuned for more chess. Bye bye.